What a wild ride it has been the last few days and the last few weeks. Yesterday was one of the biggest days in the stock market ever. Today, we're seeing a little bit of pulling back, a little bit of drawdown across the board. Make no mistake about it, in the chaos, there is major opportunity. What yesterday proved to us is that during this trade war, during these tariff negotiations, which everybody thinks will crash the market and take it to zero, yesterday proved to us that Trump and the administration will continue to give lifelines to the market while we get through this. No president, no anybody, no country wants to tank the market. Nobody wants to bring the global economy to its knees. Now, being brought to the knees is okay. Being crashed and brought to zero is not okay. And I think yesterday proved that that's not going to happen, and that's not going to be allowed to happen. I want to remind everybody how important it is to remember that, yes, we're looking at this thing. People hate Trump. People are angry at Trump. People think he's out of his mind. And so that's the logic that says this time will be different and the market will not recover. And that is not true. I cannot believe that that is true. What I do believe is that every time there is a massive market sell-off, everybody has every reason in the world to believe that it will not get better. Think about 2000. Think about 2008. Think about 2011, 12. Remember when the Greek financial crisis, everyone thought Greece was going to default? Who cares about Greece? I mean, I love Greek food and I love my Greek friends, but who cares about the country of Greece? That brought the market to its knees. We saw it again in 2016. We saw it in 2018. We've seen it in 2020. We've seen it in 2022. And we're seeing it again. What happens? Does the market recover? It always recovers. And remember, the bigger the sell-offs, the bigger the recoveries. I have been showing and proving stats galore throughout all of this that the bigger the volatility spikes in the VIX, the bigger the sell-offs in the stock market, the bigger the recovery is. And this will be a mother of a recovery. You can argue with me all day long on this if you want, and that's okay. I welcome it. But if you miss out on the opportunity to buy these dips, that will be a huge, huge lost opportunity. Let's have a little peek at the charts and just see what these opportunities actually are looking like. Let's look here for just a moment at the S&P. Now, there's going to be a million people out there, and I'm one of them half the time, that says technical analysis is garbage. But the one thing that I can't argue about is in 25 years, I have seen long-term channels hold. I've seen long-term channels tell us a lot. I've seen a lot of technical indicators work super well. And so what happened yesterday? Let's talk about this for a moment. This is the S&P. This is the SPY. We can go to the S&P. It'll look the exact same. This was a 9.5% up day. That is ridiculous. That's one of the biggest days. That is the biggest day since 2008. And that's the top three biggest days since 1950. That tells us that there is major stock market buying interest, but everybody's worried. And everybody is letting fear get the best of them about these trade wars and tariffs and so on. So don't be in that camp. Don't buy too soon. Be careful, manage your risk. I'm not saying buy everything. I'm not saying bet the farm, bet the house. I'm saying be ready and don't let your opinion crash what could be just a massive opportunity. Look at this chart. Don't tell me this isn't pretty interesting. Here is a 2020 low on the S&P. Now we can drag this out and so on, but if we look at kind of how this channel has played out, 2020, this has been 5 years now. We're basically exactly just barely past 5 years. We've seen big runs up, big pullbacks, big runs up. And what happens, the S&P continues to test this area. It just continues to test it over and over and over again. And there we go. And we're just getting crazy amounts of opportunities here. We came back. One thing that I see happen so often is when technical analysis and the fundamental side of things, whether it's news or something, remember the market is about patterns. The market is about trends. I'm much more of a macro trader myself. And so markets are about patterns, trends, and they're about catalysts. And catalysts are always something. This was a catalyst. This was 2020. The market sold off and everybody thought it was the end of the world. This was 2022 when Interest rates went up at the highest rate they have ever gone in history. Don't tell me that people didn't have a good reason to think that the market would crash forever. This is tariffs. We're going to get over this. We're going to work through this. Stop thinking that this is different than any of these back here. We saw this sell-off in 2020. That was a legit reason to think, what if half the global population dies, right? I mean, we didn't know. We had no idea. So stop thinking that tariffs are going to be the end of the world. This will get figured out. This will get worked out, and it's going to go great. And when you see something like this, nobody wanted to buy at the bottom of the market in 2023. Everybody was absolutely panicked at the bottom of the market in 2022. But what happened? It goes up. It goes up. What will happen here? It will go up. I'm not saying it can't go below this, but I'm saying don't cloud your judgment and miss this opportunity. We see this happening everywhere. The VIX, remember the VIX is one of the most important indicators out there. Remember, this is volatility. And if you're not a stock market person, volatility means things are moving around and there's a lot of uncertainty here, right? And so what the VIX measures is how much protection is being bought against the market. How concerned are people? Are people protecting against the downside, buying puts, buying insurance, and so on? That's a big thing that the VIX measures. And we've seen the VIX way up in some of these upper levels. We had the biggest dip in history of the VIX, meaning confidence spiked. When the VIX goes down, the market goes up. When the VIX goes up, the market goes down. And so we saw a big spike down in the VIX with that huge move up, that almost 10% run up in the S&P yesterday. And so what that tells us is that people are waiting in the wings for an opportunity to buy. And if you're not one of those, you're going to miss one heck of an opportunity. Now, the VIX is back up today, but what happens when we have these huge dips in the stock market, these huge spikes in fear and the VIX? There is very, very typically massive recoveries that follow just after this. So one thing that you will hear a lot about is capitulation. And that is when everybody gives up and stops buying. And that's a painful point. And we're in this place of, do we need capitulation? Do hedge funds have to sell everything and get margin called out? And they've done a lot of that. Do individual investors have to sell everything and get out? We've seen a lot of that. But don't let that cloud your ability to buy at good times. Now, if you look at so many of these charts, remember NVIDIA? NVIDIA was the stock that people could not get enough of. They could not get enough of NVIDIA. You're going to hear people say, oh, here's the death cross, right? This is when long-term price crosses over short-term price and the stock continues down. That could very well happen. That could very well happen. But all I know is people could not get enough NVIDIA, and now nobody wants to touch it. But NVIDIA has rallied off this low, and this low was only April 7th. It's the 10th today. Rallied off that low 33%. It's back down a little bit. It's having a little bit of a bad day. But when we look at the long-term play of NVIDIA, look at this. This takes us back a good couple of years. We look at this. There's a big channel at play here. Bump, 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 bump. And we're coming off that. Don't miss your opportunity to get in on some of these things. NVIDIA is going crazy. Is Tesla going to be done? Is Tesla over with? Probably not. How many times have people thought Tesla is done? Everybody hates Elon Musk. Everybody hates the cars. Everybody wants to go crazy. Do we want to miss that opportunity? Do we want to miss Tesla being able to give us one of the biggest gains ever? What does Tesla do? It rallies back like crazy. There just happens to be, and whatever your opinion is here, have your opinion. When you bet against one of the most, well, not one of, the most successful human being in history, it doesn't tend to work out very well. And everybody is betting against Elon Musk right now. And what's going to happen? The shorts are going to get run out, and everybody that's buying the dips on Tesla and some of these stocks are going to make a killing. Now, Tesla, if it really wants to come down and test this channel, could drop another 20%. That's absolutely possible. We could see Tesla down at $200 very easily, or even below $200. But will it make its way back up? I think that's super likely. Nike, this is an iconic brand. Nike is so ridiculous. If you're not trying to buy into some Nike, I mean, talk about rewinding the clock here. Can we get Nike at 2014, 15, 16 levels? Probably. I am so excited for levels below $50. Nike's trading at 53. I won't be surprised at all to see dips like this happen where everyone thinks, okay, it's breaking down. And then it takes off and leaves everybody in the dust. So be ready on these opportunities. Know what we're looking at. Don't be spooked by the volatility. And remember, the market loves, if you're not familiar with the pain trade, the market loves to do things that cause the most pain possible. Where are some of the pain areas? If we just think about it for 2 seconds. Iconic brands, iconic companies trading at major lows and us not buying that. Shame on us. Number 2, what has happened over the last 2 years? Mag 7 stocks, Nvidia, Netflix, Meta, Google, Microsoft, and so on have made these massive runs and led the market. And now those stocks have come off their levels, off their highs in major numbers. Will they lead again? Probably. They probably will. How big of a pain trade would that be? When Nvidia is way up through the roof, everyone says, I want to buy, I want to buy, I want to buy, and it's way too expensive. And then it drops and everyone says, I don't want to buy it. And then if it leads the rally again, we will all feel like the dumbest people on the planet. Let's not be in that boat. Let's rock and roll with these great setups, know what the charts are doing, know how everything is playing out, and play it smart, manage risk, but don't miss this opportunity. It's a huge one. Good luck, everybody.